Hello and welcome again to Randomized Gaming, and I am your host for this video, Random Gamer Riven. Now, some of you might be looking at me thinking, hang on, a Destiny video? You haven't done any of these for years. Why now? Yes, as some of you may be aware, we did do a series of Destiny videos a while back and then stopped. The reason being, as I rapidly discovered, basically we were competing against about 100 paid-for Activision YouTube channels that were clearly being bumped up by YouTube to get the maximum viewership. And as a result, our videos, despite the fact many of them were actually quite unique in some of their aspects, were being slanted all the way back on about page 50 or 60 of YouTube, which no one views, so it's pointless. But anyway, we were stuck way back, so basically only a handful of videos ever got views. In fact, some of the stats, even now, some of the videos did appallingly bad. Even our most recentest Mortal Kombat 2 video, which is a rerun of existing footage, I hasten to add, that's already got something like 26, 27 views at this point in time as I'm recording this video. That has already beaten some of our Destiny videos that have been up for a year and a half. That was how bad the views are. We've even got a playlist for it as well, but God knows where that appears in the search as well. Basically, yeah, the views for it were horrendous. And so we basically said, no, we're not doing any more because basically we're up against paid channels. We ain't got hope in hell because they've got about 5 staff members. Some are doing the audio, some are doing the recording. They've all got very fancy broadband speeds and we're going to get absolutely slaughtered against them. So we decided to cancel that series, which is a shame because I do actually have a load of Venus missions that we never got through, and admittedly they're a bit out of date now, but they do actually have Peter Dinklage voice in them. Although I did all of Venus, we never did Mars. It's still nice to actually hear Peter Dinklage because he actually did a much better voice performance than Nolan North, who subsequently redid all the lines, who was absolutely dire. But there is a reason for it, and the reason for this video is because, of course, PS3 and Xbox 360 are having certain elements shut down in the near future. And, well, as you can guess, the Lighthouse, or Trials of Osiris and Iron Banner, are being retired on the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions of Destiny. Now, I'm not convinced by the official reason why they're retiring them. I get the impression that Bungie themselves don't think the numbers are worth them actually doing Rise of Iron on the PS3 or Xbox 360. It's kind of to be expected. It is a bit old. They clearly did not intend to do a Rise of Iron expansion. They clearly intended to do Destiny 2 at this point, and of course Destiny 2 appears to be a long way off because the game still needs an awful lot of work by the sound of it. The fact we haven't seen any builds as of yet does indicate it's still got an awful long way to go. So, having myself never actually gone flawless on Trials of Osiris, I thought, you know what, as Bungie are going to retire Trials of Osiris, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and do flawless for the first time. Now, for me it wasn't that daunting a prospect. I'm actually a pretty good Crucible player. But I know Trials of Osiris is full of really, really good players, and it's a pretty horrible mode, I have to admit. Whoever designed it, well, they probably need a clip round the ear, quite frankly. It is awful. You should actually be able to gain access to Lighthouse by probably winning either 15 matches with a broken run, I feel, and certainly if you're a determined player who plays like 30 or so matches, I think you should be able to access the Lighthouse. Perhaps you shouldn't get the emblem for going flawless, but you should still get all the gear. It's a really bad system because it doesn't encourage people to play in PvP. It's not that rewarding for PvP players either because there's no real attraction to it aside from getting the gear. But like me, when you get to 355, unlocking the Trials of Osiris gear is just pointless. It's just for show and nothing else. And it doesn't really mean anything either. There are guns that are probably harder to get, and as a lot of the loot's actually random, and even some of the emblems, etc., that everyone seems to covet, you actually realise, well, hang on, if it's just a random reward, it doesn't mean anything. And there are actually internal tasks actually harder to perform than just simply get 9-0 flawless. Although I say 9-0 flawless, you only need to go 7 flawless if you buy all the boons. In fact, that's what I did because I thought I wanted to get this over and done quickly. I only lost 1 match in the flawless run itself. As I had the boon, that still meant I could go flawless. And if you're like me wondering what the best way to tackle Trials of Osiris, because you haven't tackled it before and want to do so before the end, first off, make sure you're 335 or at least 330. Have your best gear on. Make sure you set your character up with all the stats that you want for Crucible, because the stats I play with PvP and certainly the perks I play on PvP are very different to the perks I use in PvE. The other thing is you want 2 really, really good teammates. You need good teammates. even carrying people is not a good idea. I mean, I'm okay at Osiris. I'm not probably good enough to carry weaker players. So I made sure I had 2 really good players, both of whom who were better than me. And I'm a good Crucible player. I just don't like this mode, so I don't play it. So people maybe a bit more experienced in elimination. I'm not that experienced in elimination. Did make 1 or 2 faux pas, but still managed to... I got the divisive kill on the final match to go flawless. So I think that was probably the most satisfying moment, though. But I basically wanted to do a showcase video of someone just actually exploring the lighthouse for the first time. Now, I actually opened the gear first time, then I did this huge explorative video, so although you see me open the chest, you won't see any of the loot I got, but I'm going to show you the loot at the end of this video. Now, I'm not going to talk over it, I'm just going to walk around it. One point I should say, this is not on my Random Gamer Riven account, so you will see me block out the name at certain points. This is actually my personal account, and as you'll see, I'm 335. I actually have a 335 Hunter, Titan and Warlock, and it's actually pretty easy once you get to 335 to get your other classes up to 335. But basically, this was done on my Hunter, so I'm just going to basically go around the whole of the lighthouse, just absolutely explore it, because I haven't actually seen that many people just sit back and look at the intricacies. It's a really nice social space. It's got some really quite haunting music as you listen to it and just sit back and relax. It's quite therapeutic just to watch those sort of wander around. It's a really interesting location, and I think it's a real shame that it's basically hidden in the game in a way that only the most elite, slightly snobbish players will get to it. It's not a very good way that they've done it, because a lot of the time you will see there's some really bad tactics in Trials of Osiris, especially because it's the same match. You will see people use the same tactics over and over again, and it's quite bland because it doesn't mix it up. I really do hate this mode. It's incredibly badly designed. It's just really boring, and it's really uninteresting. Quite frankly, Bungie, I will basically go to say a profanity there, but I suddenly realised that we are a family-friendly channel. Basically, it's, I think, let's use the word squiggly badly. It's basically terrible. Absolute terrible. And it does need a complete rethink, and I think you should be able to get into the lighthouse as long as you're a determined Trials of a player, because if you're a player who's not that good at it, then you should still be able to gain access to it. The other thing is matchmaking does need to be added for events like this. If you want to bring in your fire team, fine. There's no reason why there shouldn't be matchmaking in this. And also restrictive matchmaking in the raid, so you can say you can join our raid provided you're a set level and have a mic. Quite why Bungie haven't done that, I don't know. Maybe they're incompetent. I'm going to put that in a video to say they're incompetent and unable to put in selective matchmaking because they weren't able to do it in Halo. So let's actually say they can't do it and make them look incompetent, because quite frankly, they should have got their act together and sorted it by now, because this is a game people are paying an awful lot of money for, and they should have done better to reward the fans, quite frankly. You're a determined player. If you bought everything from the get-go on day one, there should be some real improvements. And although Taken King improved the game somewhat, it still was a pretty lackluster expansion in terms of size, missions and story. There's still clearly a lot of problems with the development of this game, and one thing I wanted to see that I didn't see was that they didn't go back and fix up some of the dialogue in the earlier missions. That should have happened. And I think Destiny, it needs some work. Certainly, would I be buying Rise of Iron if I had a PS4 at this point in time? Probably, but I'm not too fussed at this point because it's all pointless. When you actually sit back and play like these, they're good fun when you play them, but in the long term, Bungie are going to shut down the servers. This game does not support offline mode. In 10 years' time, unless someone steals the server code and host a private server or finds a way to create the game to run offline, which Bungie could do because they could do offline characters, this game will be dead. No one will remember it, no one will talk about it, and it'll be dead. So, because of the fact this game will eventually end up being completely dead and very few people ever remember it, I've decided to basically video the entire lighthouse. As I said, this will be a completely voiceless experience. I'm going to just walk around it. I'm not going to say a word after the start of this video. That's it for me speaking. You won't hear me. You'll just see me wandering around and looking at it. And you'll also, at the end of the video, I'll show you all the gear I got during my run of going flawless. So you'll see all the gear I got, not only for getting flawless, so that includes the legendary banner. A lot of people call them exotic. They're not the legendary banners. And all the items. Now, admittedly, I was trolled a few times. By trolling, I mean, you'll find I got 334 items. For a 335 player, when you get 334 gear, that's like trolling the player, quite literally. But you'll see all the various items. I got all the weapons. I got the ADEPT gun, a machine gun, a few other things. Got a mask. Got gauntlets that I believe I got for doing one when I cashed in, because I cashed in all the bounties as well. I got the boots I got in the run-up. I think I got a cape in the run-up as well that was surprisingly low stats at 303, and a few other items. There's only some interesting gear in Trials of Osiris, and it's worth looking at the gear you get, just because even if you're not a particularly good player, you can still play and get gear from it. I just feel that at the minute it's too elitist mode and too few players actually get the chance to really see this social space, and it's a real shame. You really want as many people to see it as possible. And even if players aren't particularly good, they should be able to have enough fun in the mode to be able to get to the lighthouse. There have been some suggestions I've seen people saying, oh, you can get to the lighthouse with losses. As far as I'm aware, the only loss is from the boons, so it's basically you have to do 9 flawless or 7 flawless if you're using the boons in your Trials of Osiris passage. And if you aren't a very good player, certainly using the boons really gives you a big leg up of winning matches a lot quicker. So without further ado, I'm just going to take you into orbit, and then I'm just going to do a completely voiceless guided tour of the Mercury Lighthouse in Destiny on the PS3. And this will certainly be one of the last times we see this, as we said before, Trials of Osiris and Iron Banner are being retired from the current gen version, or the old gen versions, I suppose, now, because current gen is really a PS4 and Xbox One at this point. And basically this is one of the last times you'll be able to see the Lighthouse on PS3. It would be nice if Bungie made it available to all players once they shut down Trials of Osiris, but they won't, so, well, you'll just have to sit back and enjoy. And certainly there's also a video for anyone who doesn't feel they're good enough to get to the lighthouse and just actually wants to have a good look at what's inside it. It's an interesting area to play around in. I mean, it doesn't add a huge amount to the game, but it's still nice to see, nice to visit. So, it's time to head to orbit.